Double time.
Hey everybody.
Hey, how's it going?
My name is Kokesh. When I was in high school, before I was a regular smoker even, my nickname was Captain Smokehash.
I like it. It works.
I served in Fallujah in 2004 with the United States Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And when I came home, I dealt with PTSD myself, and I was having trouble sleeping. When I got to the VA, they set me up with a shrink, and I sat down with him for 5 minutes. I was like, yeah, I'm having trouble sleeping. He said, here's 5 prescriptions. By the way, 3 of them have suicide as a side effect. Forgot to mention that part. And I ran a peer support group for veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder when I got out and I was living here in DC. And it wasn't hard to see that the veterans that came home and drank themselves into bottles destroyed their lives, and those that were able to smoke weed were able to manage their PTSD and do what they had to do in a much healthier way. So when I moved back to New Mexico, where we have a pretty decent medical marijuana program, I was able to get my little card, my little piece of plastic that represents getting a piece of my freedom back. But it's really troublesome to me that this basic human right to decide what you want to put in your body, for those of us who have gone and put our lives on the line for this country and put our bodies on the line in combat for this country, if we want those basic rights, we have to come home and grovel before bureaucrats when we want those rights back. Something's fucking wrong with this system.
Yeah. Amen.
Because what it comes down to is who owns you? Who has the right to decide what you put in your own body? And if someone else claims that right and is able to impose it on you by force, you don't own yourself anymore. You may in spirit, you may in legal right, you may in God's law or natural law or whatever you believe in. But if the effect of the governance that you are subject to is that you are violently stopped from asserting the basic human right of putting what you want in your own body, you are a slave. Somebody else owns you. And simply standing up for your right to smoke pot, simply standing up for that, is the most powerful assertion, sadly, in today's society, that you are not a slave, that you own yourself, and that you have that God-given right to put what you want in your own body.
Yeah.
But now that we've covered marijuana, let's talk about drugs for a second. You gotta ask, why is it that some drugs are legal and some drugs are illegal? Nicotine, caffeine, alcohol. These are slave drugs. Nicotine, caffeine, work hard. Nicotine, die young. Alcohol, forget that you're a slave.
Forget your name.
So, in New Mexico, I actually got a permit to grow marijuana and was growing there in my closet, thoroughly enjoyed it, and actually had the neighbors come and complain to the police because of the smell. And the cops came to the door and they said, sir, we have reason to believe that there is some marijuana smoking going on in this residence. And I said, yes, sir, hold on just a second. I went and I got my card, and it turned away the guns of government for just a second. It actually worked, and it was amazing. We are winning the war. The truth is on our side. But you know what? If you're gonna throw out statistics like there's never been an overdose on marijuana, you really got to be fair about it, because there was this one time I smoked so much weed that I lost my stash and I woke up the next morning and I forgot to get high. So it is possible to overdose on marijuana. But the idea of self-ownership that is at the core of what we are fighting for, the idea of the fundamental right to own your body and decide what you put in it, is really at the heart of what America was founded on. I mean, our founding documents were written on what?
Hemp.
No kidding. So, now, if the Founding Fathers wanted to write another version of the Constitution today on the same paper, it would be illegal. So, the question of self-ownership, if you really own yourself, if you really are a free, beautiful, individual human being with all the rights that go with that, then it is morally wrong for anybody to use the initiation of force against you in any way, for any excuse, whether it's to take away your right to keep the product of your labor in the form of income, or to smoke marijuana, or to travel where you want without restrictions, or to marry who you want to marry, or to not fight in a war that's not in this country's best interest, to not be drafted. And there's... I just want to get a quick plug in here for the one person that I'm supporting for president in 2012, because he represents this more than anybody else, and that's Congressman Ron Paul. And I know there are a lot of people who support this cause who aren't enthusiastic about getting behind a Republican for president, but I was fortunate enough for the TV show that I do called Adam versus the Man, which airs on RT 5 days a week, 7 p.m. I got to interview Ron Paul on Wednesday, and I challenge you to find me another presidential candidate in our lifetimes who come out and say that as president he would pardon all non-violent drug offenders in federal prison. That's Texas Congressman Ron Paul. And unlike everybody else that's running for president, he's one who has demonstrated his record that he will do what he says when it comes to legislation and making political decisions, and he has the guts to stand up for what is right. But more importantly, in terms of what we're looking at as a generation, because I see a lot of young people here. I'm 29 years old, and I'm on the leading edge of the millennial generation. Those of us who grew up with the internet, those of us who have it hardwired in a certain way, those of us who grew up with access to the truth button, one click away, the entire wealth of human knowledge. We have a perfect memory. We have perfect access to history. And you know, right now I got a smartphone. I got that shit in my pocket. And the thing about our generation is, you can lie to us, but you can't get away with it for very long.
Amen.
And we all know the war on drugs is based on bullshit, and that's why it's losing. And it's losing to the internet, but more importantly, the promise of the internet for our generation coming into power in the next 20 years, all of these things that we have been convinced we need government for, that we need force to accomplish, are going to go away. Because when you say, you know, hey, we really want to help the poor, and we want a government program to do it, what you're saying is, we are giving up on finding a peaceful, cooperative way of solving society's problems. And the internet is going to give us all of the solutions to that. We are going to use it. We are going to find the way. This is the promise of our generation. And in the same way that we look back on those nameless primitives who first made fire and invented the wheel, someday people, perhaps from another planet, will look back on our generation, the millennials, right here, in this day and age, in this country in particular. They are going to look back on our generation, not just in America, but across this entire planet. Those of us who grew up with the internet, who took this tool to raise humanity's consciousness to the next level, they are going to look back on us as the ones that wielded the internet and took down governments.